I've been carrying this secret for 3 years, and I can't anymore. I destroyed my family, stole from my own daughter, and helped cover up something unforgivable. The worst part? I thought I was being smart. My name is Sarah, and I ruined everything the night I decided Marcus was worth throwing away 20 years of marriage and my daughter's future. It started when David hired Marcus as his business partner 18 months after the car accident that destroyed our perfect life. One drunk driver, one intersection, and suddenly my husband went from being a successful contractor to a man who could barely get out of bed some days. Chronic pain, depression, pills that made him zombie-like. The man I married was disappearing piece by piece. Marcus was everything David used to be. Confident, successful, charming. He'd come to our house for business meetings, always complimenting my cooking, asking about my day like I actually mattered. David barely looked up from his pills anymore. Our conversations had become logistics about doctor appointments and insurance claims. "You look beautiful today, Sarah," Marcus would say when David was in the bathroom. "That color brings out your eyes." Simple compliments that made me remember I was still a woman, not just a caretaker. I was 43, invisible in my own marriage, watching my friends on Facebook post about their divorces and fresh starts. Linda got divorced and immediately lost 20 pounds, started traveling, looked happier than I'd seen her in years. Michelle left her husband and within 6 months had a new job, new apartment, new boyfriend who actually took her out to dinner. Meanwhile, I was refilling pill organizers and pretending everything was fine when Emma came home from high school asking why Daddy slept all day. The first time Marcus touched my hand during one of his visits, I felt electricity I hadn't experienced in months. "You deserve so much better than this," he whispered when David dozed off during a meeting. "You're too young and beautiful to waste your life being a nurse to someone who's given up." I knew it was wrong. I knew I should have pulled my hand away, asked him to leave, focused on my family. But God, it felt so good to be wanted again. The affair started 3 weeks later. A business dinner that turned into drinks, then his car in a parking lot like we were teenagers. I felt alive for the first time since David's accident. Marcus made me feel sexy, desired, important. He listened when I talked about my dreams, my frustrations, my fears about growing old and invisible. "Sarah, baby, you're incredible," he'd whisper in hotel rooms while David thought I was at book club or grocery shopping. "I can't believe he doesn't see what he has." For 8 months, I lived a double life. Elaborate lies about errands and friends. Deleted text messages and hidden credit card statements for hotel rooms. I became an expert at deception, telling myself it was temporary, that I just needed to feel human again before I figured out how to fix my marriage. But Marcus had bigger plans. "You know I love you, right?" he said one evening after we'd made love in room 237 at the Holiday Inn. "But we can't keep sneaking around forever. David's got to go if we're going to be together for real." I laughed at first. "You mean divorce?" "I've thought about it, but Emma's still in school, and David's disability payments." "Not divorce, baby. Think about it." Marcus traced circles on my bare shoulder. "David's miserable. The pain, the depression, the pills. He's not really living anymore. And you're wasting the best years of your life taking care of someone who's already given up." The suggestion hung in the air like poison. Marcus kept talking, his voice gentle and reasonable. "I'm not saying we hurt him, Sarah. I'm saying we help him find peace. And help you find the life you deserve." I should have left that hotel room and never looked back. Should have seen the manipulation for what it was. But I was so desperate to believe someone had a solution to my trapped, suffocating existence that I let him keep talking. "David's on serious pain medication. Accidents happen all the time with people on those drugs. Falls, confusion, poor judgment. The insurance would pay out, Emma would have her college fund secured, and you'd be free to start over." "Marcus, that's crazy. I can't." "You're not doing anything to him, baby. You're just not preventing something that might happen naturally. He falls down the stairs while medicated. Tragic accident. Happens every day." Over the following weeks, Marcus slowly normalized the idea. He'd ask casual questions about David's medication schedule, his habits, where he went in the house when he was drowsy. He researched insurance policies, asking to see our paperwork to help you understand your financial options. "Look at this, Sarah," he'd say, pointing to the life insurance policy. $800,000. Plus Emma's college fund is already at $200,000. You'd never have to worry about money again. We could travel, buy a house together, give Emma everything she needs. I started paying attention to David's routines in a way that makes me sick to remember. How the pain medication made him unsteady on his feet. How he sometimes got confused about where he was in the house. How he'd wander around at night when he couldn't sleep. Marcus painted it as mercy. He's suffering, Sarah. Look at him. This isn't living. You'd be ending his pain and securing your daughter's future. That's love, not cruelty. I was so deep in the fantasy of my new life that I convinced myself he was right. David was miserable. Emma was struggling watching her father deteriorate. Maybe we'd all be better off if his suffering ended. The rational part of my brain screamed that this was murder. But Marcus had spent months making me feel like the smartest, most deserving woman in the world. He made me believe I was making a strategic choice, not committing a crime. You deserve happiness, Sarah. You deserve a partner who sees your worth. David had his chance to fight for his life, for your marriage, for his relationship with Emma. He chose pills and self-pity instead. Emma was a senior in high school, focused on college applications and her part-time job. She'd been distant since her father's accident, partly normal teenage independence and partly avoiding the reality of David's condition. She loved her dad, but she was also embarrassed by how he'd changed. Friends stopped coming over because David might be asleep on the couch at 3 p.m. or struggling to follow conversations. Emma will understand eventually, Marcus assured me. She's smart. She'll see that you made the hard choice to protect her future. I told myself I was doing this for her. Securing her college fund, giving her a stable stepfather figure, removing the burden of watching her father decline. I was being a good mother, making sacrifices for my child's future. The plan was simple. David's pain medication made him drowsy and unsteady. I would encourage him to take his evening dose, maybe suggest an extra pill since he'd been having a bad pain day. Once he was sufficiently medicated, I'd call Marcus to come over for a business emergency. We'd position David near the basement stairs and create a scenario where he'd fall while trying to help with something. It has to look completely natural, Marcus coached me. Tragic accident of a man struggling with pain medication and poor balance. You'll be the devastated widow who tried to save him but couldn't. The night we did it, I made David's favorite dinner. Pot roast with potatoes, the comfort food his mother used to make. He smiled for the first time in weeks, telling me how good it tasted, how much he appreciated me taking care of him. You're the best thing in my life, Sarah, he said, reaching for my hand across the table. I know I haven't been much of a husband lately. The pain makes me so foggy, so angry. But I love you. I love our family. I'm trying to get better. Those words should have stopped me. Should have made me cancel the plan and confess everything to David, beg his forgiveness, commit to rebuilding our marriage. Instead, I smiled and encouraged him to take his pain medication. You seem uncomfortable tonight, honey. Maybe take an extra one? You need your rest. David trusted me completely. Why wouldn't he? I was his wife of 20 years, his caretaker, his partner. When I suggested the extra pill, he took it without question. An hour later, Marcus arrived for our emergency meeting about a client contract. David was drowsy but tried to be polite, offering Marcus coffee and apologizing for being out of it. No problem, Dave, Marcus said with false sympathy. Sarah mentioned you'd been having some tough days with the pain. We led David to the basement, supposedly to show Marcus some equipment storage issue that needed his business expertise. David was unsteady on his feet but determined to help, to be useful. At the top of the basement stairs, Marcus created a distraction. Dave, can you grab that folder on the shelf behind you? As David turned, confused and off balance, Marcus gave him the slightest push. But David didn't just tumble down a few steps. The angle was wrong, his reflexes too slow from the medication. He fell hard, his head hitting the concrete floor with a sound I'll never forget. I stood there watching my husband, the man who'd held me through 3 miscarriages before Emma was born, who worked double shifts to buy our first house, who still brought me coffee in bed even on his worst pain days, lying motionless at the bottom of our basement stairs. And all I could think was how proud Marcus would be that I'd followed through. But David wasn't unconscious. He was dead. His neck had snapped in the fall. Marcus immediately went into damage control mode. Okay, baby, listen to me. You need to call 911 in exactly 10 minutes. I'm going to leave through the back door. When they get here, you found him like this. You don't know how long he's been down here. You were upstairs cleaning, didn't hear anything. I nodded, numb with shock and adrenaline. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. David was supposed to be unconscious, maybe with some injuries that would explain his death. Not obviously broken at the bottom of the stairs. Sarah, look at me. Marcus grabbed my face. This was an accident. David was heavily medicated, he was unsteady, he fell. That's the truth. That's what happened. You're the grieving widow who tried to save him but couldn't. The paramedics found me performing CPR on David's body, sobbing and begging him to wake up. The police questioned me gently, sympathetically. Tragic accident, they concluded. Husband on serious pain medication loses his balance and falls down basement stairs. Happens more often than people think. The insurance company paid out without question. $800,000, plus Emma's college fund remained intact at $200,000. I was a wealthy widow at 43. Marcus was attentive and supportive through the funeral, but careful to maintain distance publicly. We have to be smart about this, baby. Give it time. Let people see you grieve appropriately. Emma was devastated by her father's death, but she threw herself into senior year activities and college applications. At least I can still go to my dream school, she said through tears at the funeral. Dad would want that. He worked so hard to make sure I had opportunities. I nodded and squeezed her hand, already planning how I'd access her college fund for my new life with Marcus. Because Marcus had plans for that money. Big plans. Sarah, I've been thinking about our future, he said a month after the funeral. Jessica's been accepted to Columbia. Full tuition is $60,000 a year. Jessica was Marcus's daughter, Emma's age, beautiful and entitled, and everything Emma was working so hard to become. I'd met her a few times during business meetings, watched her dismiss Emma like she was invisible. That's expensive, I said carefully. It is. But here's the thing, baby. Emma's going to community college first anyway, right? To save money? So her college fund just sits there for 2 years while Jessica needs tuition now. The suggestion was subtle but clear. Use Emma's college fund to pay for Jessica's education. Marcus, that's Emma's money. David died to secure that for her. And she'll get it back, plus interest. Think of it as a loan. Jessica gets her education, we invest the rest of Emma's fund in some opportunities I know about, and by the time Emma transfers to a 4-year school, there's even more money waiting for her. It sounded reasonable when Marcus explained it. Emma was planning to do her first 2 years at community college anyway to save money. The fund would just sit there earning minimal interest when it could be working harder through Marcus's investment connections. I signed the papers to access Emma's college fund, telling myself it was temporary. Smart financial planning. Emma would benefit in the long run. $200,000 transferred to Marcus's accounts within a week. Jessica started Columbia that fall in designer clothes with a new car. Emma started community college while working 20 hours a week at Target to pay for gas and textbooks. I'm so proud of you for being responsible, I told Emma as she left for another shift. Your father would love seeing your work ethic. Emma smiled tiredly. I just want to make sure I can transfer to state junior year without debt. I know the college fund will cover most of it, but I want to contribute too. The guilt was manageable because Marcus kept me distracted. We took weekend trips to cities where no one knew us. He bought me jewelry and clothes, made me feel beautiful and valuable. We talked about getting married eventually, combining our families, giving Emma a strong father figure. She needs stability after losing David, Marcus would say. I can be that for her. Jessica could use a mother figure too. But months passed, and Marcus kept finding reasons to delay making our relationship public. People will talk if we move too fast, he'd say. They'll think we were having an affair before David died. Which we were, but I understood his caution. What I didn't understand was why Emma's college fund money kept disappearing into Marcus's investment opportunities that never seemed to return any profits. Market's been rough, baby, he'd explain when I asked. But I know what I'm doing. Trust me. I trusted him because I had to. Because admitting I'd been fooled meant admitting I'd murdered my husband for nothing. Jessica's Instagram posts showed her thriving at Columbia. Expensive restaurants, spring break trips, designer handbags. Meanwhile, Emma ate ramen noodles and worked double shifts to afford community college textbooks. Jessica's doing so well, I commented to Marcus one evening. Columbia must be worth every penny. She's a smart girl. Knows how to make the most of her opportunities. Marcus was scrolling through his phone, not really paying attention. Emma's smart too. I know she'll love state when she transfers. Marcus looked up. About that, Sarah. Emma's transfer might need to be delayed. What do you mean? The investments haven't matured yet. Market timing, you know? Emma might need to do another year or 2 at community college while we wait for better returns. That was the first moment I felt real fear. Emma was a junior at community college, already planning her state transfer. She'd been working herself to exhaustion, maintaining perfect grades, assuming her college fund was safe and waiting. Marcus, she's already applied. She's been accepted. She can defer. These things happen. Emma's tough, she'll understand. No, she wouldn't understand. Because Emma didn't know her college fund had been invested. She thought it was sitting safely in the original account, earning modest but secure interest. Maybe we should put some money back, I suggested carefully. just to cover her first semester at state. Marcus's expression hardened. Sarah, do you trust me or not? Because if you don't trust my financial judgment, maybe you should handle your own money. The threat was subtle but clear. Marcus had control of my life insurance payout, Emma's college fund, everything. If I questioned him, I could lose it all. So I stopped asking questions and started lying more creatively to Emma. The college fund is doing great, sweetie. Market growth has been amazing. Emma would smile and hug me, so grateful that her father's sacrifice was securing her future. But Jessica kept posting pictures from expensive vacations and shopping sprees while Emma wore the same 3 outfits to work and school. 2 years into community college, Emma was ready to transfer. She'd been accepted to state with partial scholarships based on her perfect grades and work experience. She just needed the college fund to cover the remaining tuition and living expenses. Mom, I need to access Dad's college account next month for fall tuition, Emma said one evening, showing me her transfer paperwork. My blood froze. The account showed a balance of 0. Had shown 0 for months. Oh, honey, let me handle the financial stuff. You focus on your studies. I can handle it, Mom. I'm 20 years old. I should probably start managing the account myself anyway. No. The word came out too sharp, too panicked. Emma stared at me. Is something wrong with the account? Nothing's wrong. I need to move some investments around. Make sure we're maximizing returns before you transfer. Emma looked confused but trusting. Okay. Just let me know when it's ready. That night I confronted Marcus. Emma wants to access her college fund. What am I supposed to tell her? Tell her the truth. Market losses. It happens. The truth? Marcus, there's no money left. You've spent all of it. I've invested it. There's a difference. In what? Jessica's tuition? Your car payments? That trip to Vegas last month? Marcus stood up, suddenly intimidating. Careful, Sarah. Remember who you are and how you got here. Remember what would happen if certain information came to light about David's accident. The threat was crystal clear. Marcus had evidence of my involvement in David's death. If I caused problems about the money, he'd destroy me. So I kept lying to Emma. Kept promising her college fund was safe while watching Jessica post pictures from her junior year abroad program that cost more than Emma made in 6 months at Target. Emma never complained. Never asked why she was working so hard while other kids her age focused on school. She trusted that her father's sacrifice had secured her future, and I was protecting that investment. The deception might have continued indefinitely if not for one night when Marcus brought Jessica to dinner at our house. Emma was home from community college for the weekend, tired from pulling double shifts to save money for textbooks. She was excited to meet Marcus properly, to get to know the man who'd been such a good friend to our family during Dad's illness. Emma's planning to transfer to state this fall, I mentioned during dinner, trying to sound casual. She's worked so hard for this. Jessica looked up from her phone. Oh cool, state's a good backup school. I almost went there before I got into Columbia. Emma smiled politely. Columbia's amazing. You're lucky. Totally. And lucky my dad's so good with investments and stuff. He's been paying for everything. The conversation continued normally, but I saw Emma processing Jessica's comment. Marcus kicked Jessica under the table, but the damage was done. After dinner, while Marcus and I cleaned up, Emma and Jessica were in the living room when Jessica's phone rang. Oh my God, no way. Jessica squealed into the phone loud enough for us to hear in the kitchen. Dad, can I tell her about Emma's money? It's actually kind of a funny story. My blood turned to ice. Marcus dropped the plate he was washing. Jessica's voice carried clearly from the living room. My dad paid for my entire freshman year with your college fund. Wasn't that smart? Instead of your mom borrowing from banks or whatever, she just used your dead dad's money. It's like he's still taking care of everyone. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Emma's voice, barely a whisper, what did you just say? I ran to the living room to find Emma staring at Jessica in horror. Jessica was oblivious to what she just revealed, still giggling about her phone conversation. Jessica, you misunderstood something, Marcus said quickly, but Emma was already pulling out her laptop. Mom. Emma's voice was steady but deadly quiet. I need to see my college fund account. Right now. Emma, sweetie, this isn't the time. Right. Now. With shaking hands, I logged into the account. The balance showed $0. It had been empty for 18 months. Emma stared at the screen, then at me, then at Marcus. Where's my college fund? Emma, I can explain. It's complicated, but. Where's my college fund? Each word was enunciated clearly, like she was talking to someone who didn't speak English. Jessica was finally realizing something was wrong. Wait, didn't you know? Dad's been using your college money for my tuition and stuff. I thought you knew. Emma stood up slowly. When she spoke, her voice was exactly like David's when he was angry but controlled. You spent my college fund. The money Dad died for. The money he worked his entire life to save for me. You gave my future to his daughter. Emma, please, let me explain. How long have you been fucking him? The profanity from my straight A, never in trouble daughter hit like a slap. Emma. How long, Mom? Before Dad died or after? Marcus tried to leave. This is between you and your mother, Emma. No. Emma's voice stopped him cold. Stay. I want to hear how you convinced my mother to steal from her own daughter to pay for yours. That's when Emma revealed how smart she really was. How much she'd been watching and wondering and putting pieces together. I know you were having an affair. I figured that out months ago when you started working late every Tuesday and Thursday, the same days Marcus came by the house. I know you were both here the night Dad died because I saw Marcus's car parked 2 blocks away when I came home from work. My mouth went dry. I know Dad didn't just fall down the basement stairs, because Dad was careful about the stairs. He always held the railing, always wore his slippers with grip. But that night he was barefoot and there were no scuff marks on the stairs like there would be if he tried to catch himself. Emma pulled out her phone and played a recording. My own voice, drunk and maudlin from a few weeks earlier. Sometimes I wonder if David would have lived if I'd just called 911 faster instead of calling Marcus first to tell him what happened. I didn't remember saying that. But there it was. My confession that I'd prioritized my lover over my husband's life. I've been recording our conversations for 2 months, Mom. Every time you slipped up. Every time you contradicted yourself about that night. Every time you promised my college fund was safe while transferring money to pay for Jessica's sorority fees. Emma had been conducting her own investigation for months. While I thought I was fooling her, she'd been documenting my lies and building a case. I found the hotel receipts in your purse. I tracked the money transfers from Dad's insurance payout. I know exactly how much you've stolen and where it went. Jessica was staring at her father in horror. Dad? Is this true? Did you convince her to kill her husband so you could steal Emma's college money? Marcus's mask finally slipped completely. You stupid little girl. Your mother was desperate enough to do anything I asked. This isn't my fault. She made her choices. That's when I realized the full scope of my stupidity. Marcus had never loved me. He'd found a lonely, vulnerable woman and manipulated her into committing murder and theft for his daughter's benefit. I'd been so desperate to feel wanted that I convinced myself I was making smart strategic choices when really I was just being used. I hope it was worth it, Mom, Emma said, her voice breaking for the first time. I hope those 2 years of fucking him were worth losing everything. She walked toward the door, then turned back. I called the police 20 minutes ago. They're on their way. Prison is where you learn the weight of every choice you've ever made. 3 years in, serving 15 to life for second-degree murder and embezzlement, and Emma hasn't visited once. Hasn't answered a single letter. Hasn't acknowledged my existence since the night she walked out of our house forever. I don't blame her. Marcus got 25 years for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and manipulation of evidence. He's in a maximum security facility 3 hours north of here. Different world, different life. I hope I never see his face again. The trial was a media circus. Suburban mom kills husband for lover's daughter's tuition. College fund murder plot exposed by victim's daughter. The ultimate soccer mom scandal. Every detail of my stupidity was broadcast to the world. The affair, the murder, the theft, Emma's detective work that brought us down. I became a cautionary tale, a Lifetime movie plot, a warning about what happens when middle-aged desperation meets sociopathic manipulation. Jessica testified against both of us. She was 18 when she learned her Columbia education was paid for with blood money, that her father had coached her to accidentally reveal the truth about Emma's college fund that night. He told me it would be funny to see Emma's face when she realized how stupid her mother was. Jessica sobbed on the witness stand. He said Sarah was pathetic and desperate and would do anything he asked. He laughed about how easy it was to convince her to kill her own husband. Hearing those words in court, knowing that's how the man I'd murdered my husband for really saw me, was almost worse than the guilty verdict. The prosecutor painted me exactly as I deserved, a selfish, greedy woman who killed her disabled husband and stole from her own daughter for a man who viewed her as a useful idiot. No sympathy, no suggestion that I'd been manipulated. Just the brutal truth that I traded my family's lives for 8 months of feeling special. Emma's victim impact statement destroyed any remaining pieces of my soul. My father was the most honest person I knew, she read without looking at me once. Even in pain, even struggling with depression after his accident, he never lied to me. Never stole from me. Never put his desires above my needs. He worked extra hours on days when he could barely walk because he wanted to make sure I had opportunities he never had. He talked constantly about my future, about college, about the life he wanted me to build. Every dollar he saved for my education was earned through actual work, actual sacrifice, actual love. My mother took all of that away because she was bored with being a caretaker. She murdered the best man I've ever known and spent my inheritance on a man who saw her as entertainment. She traded my father's life and my future for the temporary attention of someone who thought she was a joke. The woman sitting at that table isn't my mother anymore. My mother died the night she chose Marcus Chen over her family. The woman at that table is a stranger who stole my mother's face. She was right. The Sarah who'd raised Emma, who'd been David's partner for 20 years, who'd once been a decent person, was gone. I'd killed her along with David. Emma graduated from community college summa cum laude and transferred to state on academic scholarships. She worked 3 jobs to pay for what the scholarships didn't cover, graduating with a degree in accounting and a 4.0 GPA. She did it all without a penny from the college fund that was supposed to make her path easier. My sister Linda sends me updates sometimes, even though I've begged her to stop. Emma's engaged to a guy named Michael who sounds exactly like David, kind, stable, hardworking, honest. They're planning a small wedding next spring. Linda says Emma talks about her father constantly, shares stories about his work ethic and integrity and how he taught her to value honesty above everything else. She never mentions having a mother. Emma uses David's last name on everything now. Emma Morrison, not Emma Chen Morrison like she used to. She's completely erased me from her identity, her history, her future. The cruelest part is that Emma was smart enough to figure everything out but gave me chance after chance to tell the truth. She suspected the affair for months, questioned the circumstances of David's death, noticed discrepancies in my stories about her college fund. She recorded our conversations hoping I'd confess and show remorse. Instead, I kept lying to her face while spending her dead father's insurance money on hotel rooms and jewelry. The other inmates here know my story. Child killers and drug dealers look down on me because I murdered my husband and stole from my own daughter. I'm protective custody now after the 3rd beating, isolated 23 hours a day with nothing but time to replay every moment I could have made a different choice. The first time Marcus asked about David's insurance policies, I could have ended the affair and focused on my marriage. The first time he suggested David would be better off not suffering, I could have recognized the manipulation and walked away. The night I forged Emma's signature on the college fund withdrawal, I could have stopped and realized I was stealing my daughter's future. Any one of those moments, I could have chosen differently. But I didn't, because I thought I deserved more than the life I had. My cellmate Brenda asked me once why I didn't just divorce David if I was so unhappy. Why kill him? Why steal from your kid? Why not just leave? The answer is simple and pathetic, because Marcus made me feel special, and I was willing to do anything to keep feeling that way. I thought I was being strategic, taking control of my life, making hard choices for everyone's benefit. Really, I was just a lonely middle-aged woman who threw away everything real for a fantasy. The worst part isn't the prison sentence or the media coverage or even the daily threats from other inmates. It's the knowledge that I destroyed Emma's relationship with the concept of motherhood forever. Linda told me Emma refuses to discuss having children with Michael. She says she doesn't trust herself to be a good mother because she comes from me, Linda reported. She's terrified she'll hurt them somehow. I took away Emma's father, her college fund, her sense of safety in the world, and now I've taken away her confidence in her own capacity for love. She's afraid to become a mother because I showed her what mothers are capable of. Emma keeps David's picture on her desk at work and talks about him like he's still guiding her decisions. Dad would have loved this project, or Dad always said to be honest even when it's hard. She's carrying forward his legacy while ensuring mine dies with me. I've written Emma dozens of letters she'll never read, trying to explain, to apologize, to somehow undo the damage. But there are no words for what I did. No explanation that makes murdering her father forgivable. No apology that gives her back her college fund or her trust in the world. Linda says Emma's doing well professionally, that she's found purpose in helping other families plan for their children's education. She works for a nonprofit that provides college scholarships to kids who've lost parents. She's turning her tragedy into hope for others, the way David would have wanted. But she'll never have children of her own because I taught her that mothers can't be trusted. Jessica writes to me occasionally, guilt-ridden letters about her role in destroying Emma's life. She dropped out of Columbia after the trial, couldn't handle the whispers and stares. She's in therapy, working through the trauma of learning her father was a monster and her education was paid for with blood money. I keep thinking about how hard Emma worked while I was partying with stolen money, Jessica wrote in her last letter. I was posting pictures from spring break trips paid for with her dad's life insurance while she was eating ramen and working double shifts. I didn't know, but not knowing doesn't make it hurt less. Jessica at least has a chance to rebuild her life. She's young, she was manipulated by her father, she can find forgiveness and move forward. Emma will never forgive me. And she shouldn't. I get out in 12 years if I maintain good behavior. I'll be 58 years old with a murder conviction and no family. Emma will be in her 30s by then, maybe married to Michael, maybe building the life David wanted for her. She'll be a stranger to me. Sometimes I fantasize about trying to contact her when I'm released, showing up at her workplace or her home, trying to explain that I was manipulated too, that I never meant for any of this to happen. But then I remember Marcus laughing about how pathetic and desperate I was, and I realize Emma already knows exactly who I am. I'm the woman who murdered her father because a sociopath told me I deserved better. I'm the woman who stole her college fund to pay for her lover's daughter's sorority fees. I'm the woman who chose 8 months of feeling wanted over 20 years of being someone's beloved wife and mother. There's no redemption from that. No second chance. No explanation that makes it okay. The chaplain here talks about forgiveness and grace, about how God can redeem any sin, heal any wound. Maybe that's true for some people, some crimes. But some damage is permanent. Emma will never trust a mother figure again because I betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. She'll never feel completely safe in the world because the person who was supposed to protect her destroyed her instead. She'll carry the knowledge that her father died because her mother was bored with marriage. That her college fund disappeared because her mother prioritized a lover's child over her own. That the woman who tucked her in at night and helped with homework was capable of murdering the person she loved most. That kind of betrayal doesn't heal. It shapes everything that comes after. The most dangerous part isn't that I'm locked away where I can't hurt anyone else. It's that there are other women out there right now, feeling invisible in their marriages, wondering if they deserve better, vulnerable to the next Marcus who recognizes their desperation. They're scrolling through social media, seeing their divorced friends looking happy and free, wondering what it would be like to feel wanted again. They're lying awake next to husbands who take them for granted, fantasizing about different lives.